Professor Black Ops, you see it. Let's get it. The ACLU stating the government's buying your cell phone data to track you. So, but we already knew that, right? The government's getting data to be able to catch terrorism and other bad guys. So, once again, super quick article. Let's make that a little bigger for the old people. ACLU. New records detail DHS purchasing a use of a vast quantity of cell phone location data. Thousands of previously unreleased records illustrate how government agencies sidestep our and your Fourth Amendment rights. Today, the ACLU published thousands of pages, previously unreleased records about how Customs and Border Protection, Immigration and Custom Enforcement, and other parts of the Department of Homeland Security are sidestepping our Fourth Amendment rights against reasonable government search and seizure by buying access to and using huge volumes of people's cell phone location information quietly extracted from smartphone apps, right? So when you get on there, the first thing you do, right, is give the app rights, and the majority of you give them rights to your location data. All right, a lot of y'all don't check, but I usually block all of that. The records which the ACLU obtained over the course of last year through the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, lawsuit shed new light on the government ability to obtain our private information by simply opening the federal wallet. These documents are further proof that Congress needs to pass a Fourth Amendment is not for sale act, which should end law enforcement agency practice of buying their way around the Fourth Amendment warrant requirements. ICE and CPB warrantless purchase of access to people's sensitive location information was first reported by Wall Street in early 2020. After the news broke, we submitted a FOIA request to DHS, ICE, and CPB, and we sued to force the agency to respond to the request in December 2020. Although the litigation is ongoing, we're now making public the records that CPB, ICE, and U.S. Secret Service, and the United States Coast Guard, and several other offices within DHS headquarters provided us up to date. Shout out to ACLU, they're always looking out for people's rights. The release records shed lights on millions of taxpayer dollars DHS used to buy access to cell phone location information being aggregated and sold by two shadowy data brokers. They were called Ventano and Babel Street. The document exposed those companies and the government's attempt to rationalize their unfettered sale of massive quantity of data in the face of United States Supreme Court precedent protecting similar cell phone location data against warrantless government access. So the police can get the data. They just want you to those agencies to supply a search warrant, right? Go through the courts and do it the proper way. So they said 4 years ago in Carpenter versus the United States, the Supreme Court ruled that the government needs a warrant to access a person's cell phone location history from a cellular service provider because of the privacy of life those records can reveal. That case hinges on a request for one suspect historical location information over a several month period. In the documents we received over the past year, we found fentanyl marketing material sent to DSX explaining how the company collects more than 15 billion location points from over 250 million cell phones and other mobile devices every day. So let's read that one more time. DHS explaining how the company collects more than 15 billion location points from over 250 cell phones and other mobile devices every day, right? I think the key point in there was every day. With this data, the law enforcement can identify devices and observe at places of interest and identify repeat visitors, frequent location, pinpoint known associates, and discover patterns of life, according to Vento Marketing Brochure. The documents belabor how precise and illuminating the data is, allowing pattern of life analysis to identify points of interest. By searching through massive troves of location information at their whim, government investigators can identify and track specific individuals or everyone in a particular area learning details of our private activities and association. In the face of obvious privacy implication, warrantless access to the information, these companies and agencies go to great length to rationalize their actions. Throughout the document, the cell phone location information is variously categorized as mere digital exhaust and as containing no PII, personally identifying information, because it is associated with a cell phone number, numerically identified rather than a name. Even though the entire purpose of this data is to be able to identify and track people, the workers also assert that the data is in 100% opt-in. The cell phone users voluntarily sharing their location information that is collected with the consent of the app user and permission of the individual. Of course, that consent is fictitious. Many cell phone users don't realize how many apps on their phone are collecting GPS information, and certainly didn't expect that the data would be sold to a government in bulk. Right, and I think that's definitely true. Right, people are opting without understanding, and they definitely didn't think that information was going to be sold to the government, like they said, in bulk. In scattered emails, some DHS employees raised concern with the internal briefing document, even acknowledging legal policy and privacy reviews has not always kept pace with the new evolving technologies. Indeed, in one internal email, Senior Director of Privacy Compliance flagged that the DHS Office of Science and Technology appeared to have purchased access to Ventinol, even though that required a privacy threshold assessment was never approved. Several email threads highlight internal confusion in the agency privacy office and potential oversight gaps in the use of this data, to the extent that all projects involving Ventinol data were temporarily halted because of unanswered privacy and legal questions. So that's positive. At least they're talking about it. At least that agencies, people are kind of pushing back and kind of like what's going on here. I mean, you 1 billion data points every day, right? That's a ton of information. And in the past, you can do that, but with AWS, Azure, Google GCP, now you can spin up large databases to keep track of that, right? And to be able to sift through it, roll up, send it to machine learning, right? So all that's embedded now into the apps. Nevertheless, DHS pressed on with these bulk location data purchases, and the volumes of people's sensitive location information obtained by the agency is staggering. Among the records released used to be CPUD were 7 spreadsheets containing a small set of raw data location by the agency from Vietnam. Although location coordinates for each spreadsheet entry was redacted and the date and time of location points are not, that 6,168 pages of location review contains approximately 336,000 location points obtained from people's phones. For one 3-day span in 2018, the records contain 113,654 location points, more than 20 locations points per minute, and the data appears to come from just one area in the southwest United States, meaning it's just a small subset of the total volume of the people location available by that agency. So when that's tracking you, and they're keeping it per the minute, right? So that can just show you where you go throughout the day, right? Where you stop, what bank you go in. If you was doing some kind of shady, right? They're stopping on all the points, where they can track you, right? Once again, that's mass surveillance at a high level. Almost done, wrapping up. The document also highlights particular privacy concerns for people living near our nation's borders. 2018 DHS internal document proposed using the location data to identify patterns of illegal immigration, threatens to discriminately sweeping information about people going on about their daily lives in the border communities. This is also potential for law enforcement entities to gain access to their large, massive data in ways that would not usually be able to. This illustrates by a troubling request to DHS from a local police department in Cincinnati seeking location data analytics pertaining to opioid overdoses in their jurisdiction, right? So they can see, I guess, where you buying it and where you going, where you getting sick at. DHS still owes us more documents, but whatever they show, it's already abundantly clear that the law enforcement practice of buying its way around the core protection of the Fourth Amendment must be stopped. There's a bipartisan legislation in Congress right now that would do exactly that. The Fourth Amendment is not for sale act will require the government to secure a court order before obtaining America's data. Such location information about smartphones from data brokers. The principle here is the government should not be allowed to purchase its way around a bedrock constitutional protection against unreasonable searches for our private information. There is no end to run around the Fourth Amendment. Lawmakers must seize the opportunity to end this mass privacy invasion without delay. Each day without action only allows the government to convert troves of personal information as it grows and collects information. So once again, and I'm going to start doing live talking about the future. One of my favorite things is mass surveillance, how that happens, how government agencies use their personal data against you and the citizens of the United States. So that's probably another segment I think I'm gonna start going live on, and let's chop it up about big societal data issues. I don't think the United States people really realize how much of their data is collecting and how it can be used for. And there's two books. One is Weapons of Math Destruction. Like math is calculations. Those calculations could stop you from getting a loan, stop you from getting a house. If you live in certain areas, right, they're decrementing your credit score just for the area you live in, right? So those are some of the things we're going to talk about, the proper use of data and what we need to look out for. Once again, Professor Black Ops, please subscribe. Be careful with your data.